This is Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Today, our guests are from the Centro de Trabajadores Unidos, the Immigrant Workers Project. They work on the southeast side of the city on issues of immigration and workers' rights. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Our first guest is Ana Guajardo. Welcome. Tell us about yourself and what you do with the project.
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised in the community, and our family has been there for many years. And we founded Centro de Trabajadores Unidos in 2007 when the company Jay's Petrochip went bankrupt. It was a company in our community, 400 workers. They had a union, but unfortunately, the company decided to file bankruptcy, and as always, as courts gave preference to the banks, the shareholders, and everyone else except for the workers. And so from there, we decided, as we were talking to the workers, let's initiate this organization. And the former pastor, Father Carl, opened the doors to us, and so he gave us office space at the church.
The pastor of what church?
Our Lady Guadalupe, long-time Mexican church that was built many years ago, and the first and the only one that has a shrine of St. Jude. And so this church, with the support of Father Carl, they allowed us to be housed there. And so we've been doing labor rights, immigration, and education, in particular to be able to help those who are more vulnerable and help them with their rights and be able to defend themselves. And so since then, we've been taking on a lot of labor campaigns, bringing up the issue of wage theft, things that keep happening in the community.
We certainly want to get into all those issues, and more of that history. But let's go to our second guest today, Maricela Estrada.
Yes, Maricela Estrada.
Welcome, and tell us about your role in the organization.
Well, I started.
And about yourself too.
Yes. Well, I'm an immigrant. I was born in Mexico, Guadalajara, Mexico. I came here as a young child, and so I've grown up in the community as well. And when I found out, about the organization, I have been through my own struggles as an immigrant as well, and I had my own issues with, with work one time, where at that time they were not there. So then I saw that the work that they were doing, they started doing was great, and I thought this is really a good organization, that really helping out the community. And so I became involved in 2010 through the Put Illinois to Work program. So I worked briefly with them, and then after that, I remained. I wanted to stay and help out as a volunteer because I saw that there was a great need for the type of work that that the organization does, and so I decided to stay with them, and I've been with them since then. I'm now just recently became a board member, and so I'm here to just support all that they do and support the community.
Okay, so Anna, you were telling me about what brought this organization about. So how many workers and where were they working?
It was about close to 400 workers. They were working for this company, Jay's Potato Chip.
Oh, the one that you could see off the expressway, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were working there, and they were laid off, and so the company decided to move to Indiana. No union, no protections, lower minimum wage, and unfortunately, the way the system and the laws are created, companies can file bankruptcy, and most of the time, if not all the time, they give preference to the companies versus the workers, and so that actually animated some of the workers to want to do something. And instead of us always going up to the north side and getting help from all these other organizations, that's when we decided to initiate CTU. And Father Carl, our former pastor, was extremely supportive, and he kind of forced us to start the organization because he said you have office space, and so that just meant let's start this. And so January 1st, 2008, we officially initiated the organization. So
tell me about this, because you just said something really interesting. Instead of going to the north side, what did you mean by that?
Well, there are many great organizations that supported us, like Chicago Workers Collaborative, back then with Martin Uceta, as well as some other leaders in the Latino community. And so, we were going to them, we were looking for attorneys, but we didn't have anything in the south side. And so
Southeast side
of Chicago, yes. And so that kind of urged us to want to do something. And so with the workers that were still involved with the from the Jay's Petrochip company and ourselves, we decided to form the organization, and so we founded it.
Okay, and then what happened then when you formed the organization?
Yeah, well, as all of us not knowing what it takes to start an organization, so we struggled. But the good thing is that we had many support systems, and so we just started being recognized. We started doing a lot of Know Your Rights training inside the churches, in different organizations, educating workers about their rights, both in labor and immigration. And so from there, we started getting cases and started going public on some campaigns, holding employers that refused to pay workers their wages that were owed, just started holding them accountable publicly. And then from there, we just continued growing as an organization and growing our membership base, as well as our staff. And so here we are. And over the years, we've partnered with other great groups like Just Pay for All, with two other worker centers and a group of attorneys to pass state legislation in Illinois. And currently we're working with other organizations to also start moving on legislation. So, the important thing about labor rights is that your legal status has nothing to do with it. And so labor rights affects everyone, whether you're documented or not. And so that's something that we're really trying to stress and educate as many people that you have a right. Okay. If you work, you're entitled to get paid for the time that you work.
Yeah, that's interesting. Both of you live in that community of South Chicago, the southeast side, right? And it's ironic, to me at least, because I grew up in East Chicago, Indiana, and I have some roots there in South Chicago myself, that this area of the city and the area of the country was called the workshop of America, right? It was like, I mean, that's where everybody went to work, where steel and so many things were produced, and yet there wasn't an organization like this. Yeah. That's really ironic. You mentioned some education. Maricela, are you involved with that aspect of the work at all?
Yes, I try to get involved with this, with all the aspects of CTU, Centro de Trabajadores Unidos. And yes, I have, assisted before in the past with workshops. And
how do those work? How do they look?
Yeah. Well, usually, we'll organize the workshop, or they'll organize it actually. I just help them out with it. Based on the need that they see. If, like, for example, recently the workshop they had was for the DACA. A lot of people had
deferred
questions.
Action.
Deferred action, and so a lot of people had questions about that, and so we wanted to take action before things started to get kind of bad, because other people try to take advantage when they see something like that, and they try to take advantage of people that don't know what's really going on. So we
What do you mean by take advantage? Like,
well, there are people, we know that there are people out there, some bad lawyers, that will try to take advantage of that situation and tell people that, look, I can fix that for you. When, and when people don't know, they'll go to the wrong people, they'll give them money. And a lot of times they'll just take their money. And then of course, because they don't know what is really happening with the law, or if it has taken place, or if it's already in effect, then usually people will, are desperate sometimes to get, their immigration situation fixed, so they'll give money to the wrong people. And so we wanted to educate people and let them know, what is really happening.
There really is no. Is there a charge for processing DACA, your documents and all of that to get that status or renew it?
I think there is, but that fee goes to immigration.
And it's not a huge sum of money.
I don't think it's huge. But the problem also has been, as Maricela mentioned, like the lack of information, like the notaries, notarios públicos.
Right, because in Latin America, a notary is a lawyer, right? Right, and I think people come with that same mentality here.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's a big abuse, because it's been where several notaries have taken advantage of workers or individuals, especially who are applying for this. And it's not just for DACA; it's like for other citizenship and everything. And so what we try to do is just educate people. And the great thing that we have in the organization is we have a good support system where we have attorneys who do it for pro bono. Or we partner with other nonprofits who also, help it for pro bono. And so we try to ensure that people know their rights, and that we can guide them through that process, and they're not taken advantage of, because it's not that expensive. It's just the service that gets given to them by these attorneys or these notaries. It's what they're charging, and it's an immense amount of fee.
So people see a place to take advantage, and well, fortunately, you're stepping in to help educate people. So you educate people on DACA and similar immigration issues. Before the show, you were talking about a specific visa, right?
It's the U visa, and so the U visa has been in place for many years.
What is it?
So a U visa is where if there's a crime that takes place, in particular, so U visas have normally been used for VAWA cases, domestic violence.
Yeah, that's the Violence Against Women Act, right?
Yes, and so those are mainly the known U visas. But what we have been doing the last 3 years is trying to educate ourselves about the actual legality of it, and also educate individuals about U visas in the workplace. If you work in a company and the employer locks you in or forces you to work without, any type of abuse that happens in the workplace, sexual harassment, sexual assault, if there's any threat that I'm going to call immigration on you, any type of physical or non-physical threat, then you are entitled to apply for a U visa. And so while other U visas, like I mentioned, like VAWA, are mainly known, many people know of those, we're trying to make sure that workers know about the other type of U visa, in particular in the workplace.
Okay, so for example, let's say I'm a recent immigrant and I'm working, I don't know, it's for some company, I don't know, as I guess, maintenance services or janitorial services, and let's say they keep me locked up in a building all night. Because of those types of abuses or something like that, I could apply for a U visa.
You can apply, and so it's a whole process. And so what we do is the way we do is we have attorneys that do it for pro bono. There's other nonprofits and organizations that charge fees, but we do it for pro bono. So what our attorneys do is we first try to get all the information together, do our research, and then we have to get it certified by a government agency or the police department. And so the great thing about the Chicago Police Department, they help certify those U visas when it's connected to a crime. But then there's also the Illinois Department of Labor and the U.S. Department of Labor. They also certify the U visas. Unfortunately, OSHA does not certify U visas, but that's a work in progress that we're trying to do to educate OSHA about the importance that they can also certify, because there's also a lot of incidents that happen in the workplace and a lot of threats that take place. But so that's the process. Once it gets certified, then and you have all your paperwork together, then it gets submitted to immigration.
Wow. So because I think that's the last thing a recent immigrant would want to do, right? Maricela, you just is like you're working. You started working not too long ago, or whatever the case might be, and you're being taken advantage of, but you feel you have no recourse. Why? How can you contact authorities? You don't have papers. But what you're telling me is because of this U visa, you do have some recourse, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's many organizations that do this. There's many nonprofits that provide this service, as well as attorneys.
Attorneys, but they would charge you, obviously, unless they offered to do
private attorneys.
Offer to do it pro bono. But you're saying if we come to CTU, IWP, then you'll connect me to the lawyers.
Yes, we just started a clinic ourselves as an organization, and so we have a group of attorneys that provide pro bono services on labor, housing, immigration, and criminal justice. And so that's something that we're trying to expand in our community to ensure that people know that there's just free legal service that they can go to.
Wow. Can you, without using names or any specific examples, could you tell me about somebody you're helping or you've helped go through the U visa process? The question is for both of you.
Which you probably, like I say, we don't have names, but we have helped people in the past. I can only think of one person right now. I don't know if you know one more, but we did.
You don't have to use the person's name, but what happened with this person? What was their case like?
Well, she went through the process, and she was able to get her visa. And most of the cases we end up getting are from, usually domestic violence.
Oh, it's domestic.
Yeah, but we had other cases too that, like Anna mentioned, that, where they had, an injustice in work and they qualify. And I don't know if you have been...
Yeah. Well, there's our first U visa case happened actually several years ago, and so we partnered with NIJC, National Immigrant Justice Centers. So they provided the legal service. And so it was also domestic violence. She was undocumented. She was young. She had a child.
How young was
she? Was, I think, at the moment, maybe she was underage.
I want to say 16, I think. I remember 16, I think.
Yeah, she had a child.
She was still a minor then.
She was a minor, yes. And so with the support of the attorneys, we were able to get it approved. And once it got approved, her parents also received their social security number through that, because she also petitioned for the parents immediately. So that's the good thing about U visas. If it gets approved and you can request for your parents as well, if immigration wants to, there's a chance that they can get approved.
Wow.
And so, and this was a really important case for us because she was a minor. She was also experiencing wage theft in the workplace. And so she also had these issues of domestic violence. And so, and that case actually opened, many opportunities for us, because then we started looking more into the U visas, and so that's when we started getting more involved in that.
Well, yeah. I had heard about the U visa, but just a bit, and you're obviously, I mean, right now telling me just how good of a tool it can be for some people. And certainly that's something I think the community needs to become more aware of. Where do, like, if somebody does have a question, you know, they could go to your website and place a phone call?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, they can contact us at centrodetravajosunidos.org.
Okay.
And also check us on Facebook, and we actually receive also several cases on Facebook.
Really?
And so that's people send us messages, and then we begin to reach out to them.
That's
And
awesome.
the legal clinic is every Thursday from 3:30 to 8:30 at the office on Our Lady of Guadalupe. We're still there right now. And every Thursday, well, every
first and
fourth,
second
first and
Thursday.
second are intakes, new intakes
Every first and second Thursday
Of the month.
of the month.
of the month is new intakes, people, new cases, you know,
Yes,
like.
they can come. They can come and just make an appointment, and they can come and see one of the lawyers, whatever
Wow.
the issue is.
And then obviously there's continuation for every other
Yes.
other week, whatever's going on. But well, you said, Maricela, you said we're still at Our Lady of Guadalupe, but you're not planning to be there a whole lot longer, right? Tell me, because that's as I've driven on South Ewing, I've seen your new center. So tell me about that.
Well, yeah, we are very excited. It's a new building that Centro de Trabajadores acquired. You know, I think that it has great potential. It's 98th and Ewing, like I said. It's a building. It has 3 floors, and we have.
It's a big building.
Yes, it's a big building, and it's right in the heart of the neighborhood. I think where it is needed the most. I think because it's in a neighborhood. You know, that side of the city where kind of has been kind of abandoned there. You
Neglected.
know, those and so then this is a great place where we can start the centro. And it's also accessible to all of the other neighborhoods in the area, in the 10th district. And we're excited because we want this to be a project for the community. You know, we want it to be like a lighthouse for the community where people can go there and be a part of the community, and also get the help that they need, whatever it is that they need.
And how long? When? Because I saw it on your website. When did you guys move in? Start moving in there? Because
Well, we haven't yet.
Oh, you're starting to. Because
Well, we're
I
starting
see
to
the big
fix the
banner.
building, yeah.
And I looked at your Facebook page.
The property was donated to us on September 22nd of last year by a bank, and so it was donated to us for $1. They love the vision that we have for the building, which is pretty practically what Maricela mentioned. We want to do. We want to move all of our program, labor, immigration, any new programs that we start up on the first floor. We're going to open it up to the community, so we're making it a community center. We know what it means not to have a space to start off, so we want to allow that other groups to be able to start. And then the basement is going to be our incubator for our social enterprise cooperativas. We're looking at helping low-wage workers form cooperatives, as well as workforce development. And then the biggest challenge for us is that temporary housing. So we're going to use the second floor as temporary housing for newly arrived immigrants. The previous pastor, Father Carl, used to house newly arrived immigrants. Unfortunately, with the current pastor, that program stopped. And so we want to make sure that we can also do the same thing in this building. It's a huge project. We started renovation about a month and a half ago, but unfortunately, because of budget cuts in the state, the construction has currently stopped. So we're trying to raise the remaining funds so we can continue to build this center, but we're hoping that next year we can move into our property.
Wow. So if anybody's interested, obviously, in supporting those efforts, they can just go to your website and contact you.
Yeah.
And you're not too far from Calumet Park, so during lunch you could go for a swim or something.
Yeah, we'll make sure. Well, we do have our upcoming events, and so we try to make sure that we incorporate also fitness. We know that the Latino community health is also a problem, and so we want to make sure that, although we focus on labor and immigration, that we partner with other groups that to make sure that we can help people in all different aspects.
You want to make it holistic, right? One thing that I thought when I contacted you and met you today is like, it's pretty obvious, but it's not always obvious or very apparent when I've met people that work on in these different types of organizations, is the leadership of women.
Yeah.
Are you doing it with a purpose to bring in women and help build up women, and using their experiences and talents that they already have to grow this organization. Is that something you really keep
in the labor movement, it's predominantly run by men.
Right.
And so that's a personal struggle that we have at times as an organization. But we've actually been very fortunate that the majority of our cases and people who come to the organization are women. However, on certain industries like in construction, it's predominantly men. But we've actually had very strong leaders, women leaders who actually take initiative despite many of the challenges they have in the house. But so what we've also been doing is, for the longest, we've been trying to see how do we get more support systems for women. We partner with other organizations like Family Rescue that does domestic violence, and that's where the U-Visa we started receiving more cases on U-Visa. So we try to make sure that we can provide the services necessary for the women. We also started trying to form, or attempting to form, like this social enterprise cooperativa, and the majority of them actually are women. And so we started sewing, last year, training women on how do you cut and sew. And so it's
and a lot of them already have been doing these things. We have people that have been knitting. We have one of our members. She actually makes purses out of plastic. She recycles the plastic. They recycle other things. So all these things that are not only great for the economy, for their economy, but also great for the environment.
Right.
So those are things that we would definitely want to promote, in the future. And most of them, like she said, most of them are women that are out there,
They're already doing it.
They're already doing it.
So you're saying sewing, you're saying like using recycled materials. What other types of
food? We're also looking at food. A lot of our leaders are great cooks. And so we're looking at possible food. And so that's the great thing about the basement for the building.
A possible catering business. We have that love to cook, and they're great cooks, like she said. And so we are also looking into that. That'd be another great thing to do.
That's why getting this building up and ready is important for us, because the basement will be utilized for this job creation stuff.
Wow, those sound like really, really exciting plans. How do people, obviously some of them might find you through social media or the internet. How have other people connected with you, or how have you connected with them? How have you gone out to them? Do you go to work sites? Do you knock on doors? How does that aspect of your work happen?
It's difficult to go in work sites because we try to make sure that we stay away from the workplace so we don't cause any problems. But it's mainly through announcements in churches, to public announcements like we're doing now. Media, where we try to expose the work that we do, and that's how we have the majority of the people that come to us. And when we do our intakes with the workers, it's all confidential, and so we try to ensure that people feel comfortable and talking to us in a safe place, which is why the church has also always helped. Is it seems like a safe place for people to come to. And so it's just been through different means.
And with me, it's always just with involvement in the community. If I happen to be somewhere where I know the person, and I'll talk to them about the project that we're working on, and all of a sudden they become interested, and I'm like, okay, can we find out more about it, and can we get involved? And so that's another way that we bring people into the to the project. I have this group that I do exercise with every morning, and we started telling them about it, and then some of the ladies were like, okay, I never heard of this organization. I said, well, you should come out one day to one of our events and just and find out. So some of them, that's how we bring them into the center, and once they find out about it and they get involved, then they usually stay because they like what they see and what we're doing. So yeah.
We're getting close to the end of the show, but I do want to ask about something that's huge in that side of the city. I mean, it's been so neglected, and I remember being as a little boy going through Commercial Avenue, and it was very vibrant, and they had all sorts of things going on. And then the old steel mills just being torn down. But now there's a I guess a surge of interest because of that whole site that's going to be developed there on Lakeside, right?
Yes.
How are you involved in that? Or are you planning to get involved? Or what do you want? What would you like to happen with that development?
Well, so we sit on the board of the Alliance of the Southeast, which is an organization that started in the community to focus on violence issues. But as of recently, Lakeside Development, which is this new project that's going to be taking place, is very important for us because we've seen how gentrification works and how displacement happens. And so we are very concerned as community residents that in the future, if we're not taken into account or we're not part of this decision-making process, then we're just going to be left out. And as you mentioned, South Chicago was very vibrant in the past, and unfortunately, we have been underrepresented and underserved. And so we're hoping that the new developer, McCaffrey, sits down and supports a community benefits agreement, which is actually being presented to him. And so we're in the process of trying to have these meetings, be able to negotiate with them, but we're also tired of being left out. And so we want to make sure that our voice is heard because we are residents of the community that have been there for many years.
Yeah, and that's a huge development there, right?
Yes, it's the new pier coming. Well, I say it's the new pier.
Yeah, it's
coming
like,
to us.
Yeah, it's like I think it's the size of Evanston, right? That area.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big, and like she said, it has the potential of being the new Navy Pier, you know, and a much needed part of the city.
Right.
It's neglected. That's been neglected for so many years, but we are, you know, we're going to bring it back to life. We're going to find a way to bring it back to life.
And one of the things in the community benefits agreement is because although we're known mainly for challenging or going after the bad employers, for those good employers, we're trying to work with them and see how do we get them involved also, because we're also concerned our mom and pop shops in the community who are good employers, what's going to happen to them in the future as you bring in these big companies. And so we want to make sure that they also have a voice in the table. And so that's community organizing that we're doing, trying to get more people involved, as well as the small businesses, because not every business is a bad employer.
Okay. Well, we're out of time today. Well, Ana, Maricela, thank you so much for coming out today and for fighting so much for our community.
Thank you for inviting us.
And thank you for joining us. Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.